Speaking of coaching, did you see who the Celtics tabbed to? This is an incredible story. This kid comes out of nowhere. They hire him to coach their D-League team, their new D-League team, and he's a wonder kind. And it's now coincidentally, he happens to be Danny Ainge's son.
Really?
I'm swept up in Austin Ainge fever right now. And
I mean,
I bet he thinks that golf is a sport.
I think okay. They hired Austin Ainge. I wrote a column about this because I was so.
And I'm glad that you did.
I was a little taken aback by the fact that they. I looked at all. I spent the better part of my day looking at New Bedford.
This is the main red clause you're talking about.
Yes, we're talking about the
new D-League
the NBA developmental league. Okay, every team has a veteran coaching, and maybe this is a mistake on their part, but. You look down these, it's, guys who coached in college, they coached in Europe for 10 years, guys who've paid their dues. These guys are...
Well, you'll get veteran NBA players trying to make the transition into coaching.
And then you have Ainge's son, he's 27, never coached in the pros, never played in the pros, never head coach in college, spent 1 year as an assistant, and the way it was put on his resume, it wasn't like he was first assistant in line. It was more like, can you get me a sandwich type of assistant? And I just think it shows a lot of. It was the word hubris.
I think nepotism is the word you're looking for.
I don't think it is.
The Tori spelling of the.
I think that Austin Ainge almost has to be good for them to even do it. He must be an impressive guy. I'm sure there's no doubt about that. He's probably going to do a good job. It's amazing to me. You'd almost think that he would encourage him to do it a different way rather than to say, I'll give you an in here. But he has ushered in a new era. Ainge, the senior, the elder, has ushered in a new era here. So maybe Austin Ainge is going to be the guy who runs the next 20 years of the team.
I'm having a mental block on the former Jets coach that was at war with Belichick about the video thing.
Eric
Mangini.
All right. Now, did he not have a very modest start in pro football himself? Didn't the Patriots?
He did.
Pretty much everybody under Belichick had him on.
But he started as a ball boy, then he went to 9th coach, then he went to 7th coach, then he went to 5th coach, then he went to 3rd coach, then he went to defensive coordinator.
But
Austin Ainge went from sandwiches to head coach in 2 years.
But Eric Ainge was the quarterback for the Jets last year.
Is that Danny's son?
It's his nephew.
So it's all coming together.
So yeah, maybe there's a big conspiracy going on here.
It's just Ainge's world. We're just living in it.
I think that it's really amazing. Whenever major pro sports teams make hires that are based on association and trust in an individual person, that completely overlooks so many resumes that are just oozing in experience and
successes. Hold on, I'm gonna call a timeout here.
Timeout.
Okay. You are making the assumption that the purpose of the NBA Developmental League is to win games.
The
purpose of the NBA
is
League is to develop players, and what better way to develop players the way that Boston wants them to be developed than to essentially have their guy in place. This main team is Celtics North. Okay, they've got John Jennings as the GM, and basically John Jennings is the everything for this organization. I mean, he's a great guy, and he's been right in the forefront and very accessible from the beginning, but he is kind of the face of this franchise.
I don't think I get what you're saying. I just think that when you look at how many, the way college sports feed football and they feed basketball, the NBA and NFL obviously look at NCAA as their main feeder system. The coaches that are out there as well often, have made the leap to the NFL in a lot of cases in the last 20 years or so. I'm just amazed anytime I see a major pro sports team make a hire that is so non-resume based when they have so many resumes to pick from. That's all I'm saying.
Well, first of all, no college coach wants to go to the D-League. That's just
right. Only like Quinn Snyder is in the D League, and he's only there because he's disgraced.
And anybody that's in
a
high-profile college program is not going to the D League.
You got to admit, though, it takes incredible. It takes some guts for Ainge to. And it puts his son in a position to fail.
Not only that, though, but to put out the press release that they put out takes a lot of guts. And like I was saying about John Jennings, great guy, and I know that he's the driving force behind this. He's a former Celtics assistant coach.
Yep.
So he's familiar with the Celtics organization. But to put out the paperwork that they did on Austin Ainge, and you alluded to it, John, in your column, but I mean, they've got quotes from Doc Rivers. They got quotes from everybody talking about, what a great addition he is to the team. That's fine, but don't make it sound like you whittled down a list of 40 different candidates.
That's what they did say, right? Because
yeah,
if it was
of course they're going to say that.
I think if anything, it would have made more sense for Danny Ainge, or maybe he will do this, is to come out and have a press conference and just open up, because he's great. He's great like that. Open up and just be honest about it. Said, look, I mean, because he said, look, I know that I'm going to take some hits for this, and I know that that Austin wasn't the most qualified person for the job, but I know this kid. I know what he can do. He's my right hand man, and I think I'm running this organization, and he's the guy that's going to do the job.
He's going to develop the players the way that the Celtics need them to be developed, and he's going to follow his father's plan for getting them up there. Now, let's not forget, we're only a few years away from essentially the end of the Big Three era and the end of this current veteran team. So we need to start developing players that are going to be ready to come in and contribute. With what they've seen...
You don't think that would have been... See, I guess I'm missing something here. I'm thinking with all those college resumes that Ainge could find many worthy candidates, people that he could find to be philosophically compatible with, and every which way would make good hires. So to go beyond that, I still find it amazing.
Again, it's also the developmental league for coaches too. You want to develop somebody that you think is going to be somebody that'll be in your organization in a few years as well. Yeah. So maybe this is kind of Austin's developmental path. Maybe not necessarily to the Celtics, because that would be a little bit too obvious, but to get his way into the big league as a coach, even as an assistant coach. Maybe he wasn't getting the job opportunities out there, so this was the best progression for him. But you're looking at somebody who's going to have to develop these players for whatever role they're needed in Boston, not make Bill Walker the #1 scorer for the Maine Red Claws, but to develop him for what will be helpful to you in that season. Right. The way that it works right now, the D-League isn't really productive in getting players ready to contribute to that NBA roster in the spring and in the late spring months and maybe in the playoffs. Right now, it's about, let's just showcase these guys, see what they can do, let them play the way they were playing in college, and whatever happens, happens. Then they have to make that adjustment, and the Celtics saw that when they brought up their guys last year, from the way they were playing for the Flash to the way they were playing for the Celtics. It's too much of a leap. If you can control them more, then you can be able to fit them in better as pieces later on.
I remember a time when there was a New England organization, we're talking about player development, promoting from within, your 12th choice, nepotism. There was a team in Boston that was looking for a general manager, and they had tried to get all of these big name candidates to come here. They couldn't get one, so they're like, oh, let's go with this kid that we got floating around the organization. We'll throw him a bone. He might do okay. What's his name? Theo Epstein? How'd that work out?
It is similar. I mean... But Epstein
did climb the ladder
he
inside
paid his
baseball,
dues.
But
I guess that's all. I think that's all the side of it saying that, everyone gets. I mean, knowing people is a lot of what gets you through in this wacky rock we call Earth, guys. And I think that Austin Ainge is. He's learning that firsthand.